Hi folks, Jack Spirko here with another survival podcast video. Today we're going to go over a new saw blade that was sent to me called the T-Rex Extreme. And if you get a look, actually later we'll give you a better look at the blade, but this blade for a reciprocating saw is almost exactly shaped like a typical pruning saw blade. And it's made out of a heavier gauge steel than a typical blade. And we're going to put it to its test and see how it works. Remember, I already did a video before. I'll put a link in the video notes so you can see the previous video where I talked about the advantages of using a reciprocating saw for pruning and cutting smaller trees than, it really makes sense to pull your chainsaw out for. It's definitely safer. I mean, remember, the blade stops immediately, unlike a chainsaw. But let's give this blade a test, see how it works. This tree is actually big enough. It's a pine, and full of sap, and it's a fairly large tree. I'd say I can't get my hand around it. I'd say it's about a 4-inch diameter. I would probably normally get my chainsaw out for a tree of this size. These smaller guys here is what I would generally use this for. But we're going to go ahead and put this thing to its test and see what it'll do for us. Prune some of these branches out of the way and give it a cut. We'll get the camera to tighten up for us here. I'll tell you, for pruning, it's like butter. I mean, you can barely touch it and it cuts through. It's way better than a typical blade. We still good? Well, that's a pretty serious cut there. Again, this is probably big enough that I would definitely get the chainsaw out for it. But I mean, I'm sold. These are $19.95 compared to about $2 for the cheap normal blade. But if you're going to do a lot of cutting with this, I think it makes sense. Let us reposition the camera. We'll give you a good look at this blade. All right, I just wanted to give you a better look at the blades now that we got them down here. This is a fire and rescue blade. There's plenty of different blades they make for these saws. They sell for a couple bucks. The steel's really not a lot thicker. It feels like it is, but they obviously have to be about the same thickness so that the tangs will go into the saw. I'd say it's just a hair thicker, but it's definitely a heavier grade, stronger steel than a stronger blade. I mean, you can tell just by the rigidity in it. And again, the blades, the teeth themselves look just like a pruning saw blade, and they've got kind of this angled diamond shape to them. And you can get a little file in there after this blade's dull and resharpen it. One thing about using a blade like this, you're gonna see, you notice right here where I just used it, you see the paint worn off it, and here. This is pretty much the majority of, you're gonna cut stuff about 2 inches thick and down. You're gonna only really wear out this part of the blade, so. Because you've got to have it up against your stop to keep it from vibrating. So this is the only part you're really going to have to generally sharpen. But again, $19.95, probably worth it if you're doing a lot of pruning. If you're going to prune 1 or 2 trees, I wouldn't do it. But if you're a professional, you've got a large estate, this makes a lot of sense.